Last year, in late April, I was working on a project trying to implement an artificial neural network. I remember for an entire week, every single day, I stayed up late into the night trying to complete this project. On one of those days, I sat at my desk for a full 24 hours trying to get my code to compile correctly. Can you imagine that? I was physically in Chicago, but really, I was living on Taiwan time. As the deadline was approaching, I became increasingly anxious because although I had started this project early, I was making virtually no progress, and there were still other assignments that I needed to attend to. Eventually, quite frustratedly, I turned in my neural net. Well, I didn't because it didn't work. Despite having something due immediately on the day after, I decided to go on a long walk. As I was striding along the UChicago campus, I remembered how I felt when I was first accepted to this school. I was ecstatic. I remember thinking to myself, I'm about to go to the University of Chicago. Unfortunately, I continued my stressful life as a double majoring senior, so the excitement didn't last for very long. When I finally graduated from undergrad, I thought, the rest of my life will be a breeze. Unfortunately, again, life in Chicago was also full of setbacks and disappointments. The excitement of being in a new city, new school, new program was temporary, as it was when I was first accepted. On many occasions, I couldn't help but ask myself if I was going down the wrong path. Then, for the first time in a long time, I noticed how stunningly beautiful the UChicago campus was. Vines were creeping up the castle-like buildings on campus. The statues of phoenixes and gargoyles seemed to be glistening under the sunlight, and the water lilies in the pond were in full bloom. When I passed by the sculpture of Dr. Enrico Fermi, the man who invented modern nuclear physics, I was reminded of just how incredible, and I mean incredible, the people of UChicago are. These buildings, these statues, these water lilies were also once appreciated by some of the greatest, most extraordinary, most eccentric people of history. Dr. Enrico Fermi, the man who successfully conducted the first nuclear fission test in history. Dr. Milton Friedman, the man who developed the modern Chicago theory of economics. And finally, former President Barack Obama, the first African-American man to become President of the United States. As these people were walking through this campus, their minds were fixated on changing the course of history. That's when I realized that I had forgotten how honoring it is to be part of the University of Chicago. In recent years, I've become less and less Taiwanese. I speak less and less in Chinese, and I've forgotten how to write many Chinese characters. Most of what I see, eat, and listen to nowadays are products of the West, including Toastmasters. At some point during my journeys in the US, I seem to have forgotten my own identity. 8 years ago, when I first left Taiwan, I was also full of excitement, ready to speak to the world on Taiwan's behalf. Then I met people who, when I told them, hey, I'm from Taiwan, they said, hey, I love Thai food. Then I met people who, when I told them, yeah, I'm from Taiwan, they said, is Taiwan even a country? Last but not least, I met people who, when I told them, yeah, I'm from Taiwan, you know, they said, Taiwan belongs to China. At some point down the line, I also became frustrated and lost. At some point down the line, I seem to have forgotten my own identity. I remember having this conversation with a fellow UChicago friend. When he asked me if I was a US citizen, I somewhat reluctantly admitted that I was actually from Taiwan. And I told him about my life story. I told him about Taiwan and her unique position in relation to the world. I told him why I used to love Chinese literature and how it later shaped my perspective on life. I told him why I left Taiwan in the first place and how I later became the bridge of communication between Taiwanese, Chinese, and Americans in college. I never thought twice about my life story. During our conversation, I didn't think I brought up anything out of the ordinary either. To my surprise, he was fascinated by my life story and was jealous of how I had so many interesting opportunities to encounter so many amazing people. Then he said, "Indeed, the University of Chicago is full of incredible people." Staring at the statue of Dr. Enrico Fermi that morning, I remembered this conversation. I was reminded that what made me special in the eyes of these incredible people was not my major or whether or not I could implement a neural network, and I can't, by the way. What made me special was my hometown and the unique perspective that I, as a Taiwanese person, has on the world. No longer do I feel embarrassed about my identity. I've come to see how my past has shaped the unique person that I am today. No longer do I feel embarrassed about my past. I've come to see how my upbringing has inspired many different people and will continue to do so in the future. No longer do I feel embarrassed about being Taiwanese, and I am about to prove that with the rest of my life. The University of Chicago helped me remember just how proud I am to be Taiwanese. Toastmaster of the evening.